Sabertooth is probably one of my top 10 favorite characters. And I got to tell you, I've had 4 Sabertooth statues, I believe. That's a lot of creeds. There are a lot of creeds out there. The Sideshow, this XM one, couple customs, Apollo, Adonis. See what I did there? Hey guys, welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. Today we are looking at this $1,000 statue from XM Studios. This is Sabertooth. That's right, this is the nemesis of Wolverine, a common X-Men villain. So XM Studios created this statue. They made it in 1/4 scale, meaning it was shrunk down 4 times than the larger version of Sabertooth. During design, we're going to measure him and do some scaling next to some other characters. But as I said in the intro, I'm a big fan of Sabertooth. So this is actually officially my 4th Sabertooth statue. First one was Sideshow's 2nd premium format, I believe. And when I first got this, I thought it was amazing, but eventually I sold it off. And I moved on to this custom statue right here, which I think is amazing. It's one of my favorite statues in my collection. But I also received this custom statue, which was also done excellent. And I'm not sure, but while I own those 3, I decided to pull the trigger on him, and he was just delivered today. So we're going to see how he stacks up against other Sabertooth statues. We're not going to do that today. We're just going to look at an in-depth review on this piece. But in a few days or a few weeks, I'm going to do an Extrumble. That's right, an Extreme Rumble between this guy and then that first custom statue that I showed you, because that's all that I have left in my collection. And we're going to see which one I should get rid of and which one I should keep. And just keep in mind, the answer may be keep both. Thank you to you guys. We're giving away these 2 exclusive Mortal Kombat statues from Pop Culture Shock Toys. We've already given away this Sub-Zero. It's being shipped to the winner of the 15,000 sub giveaway. Up for grabs at 17,500 subs is this exclusive Scorpion statue. First thing you need to do is make sure you've liked this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you've hit that bell notification. Second thing is, we are going to pick random videos. This is one of those random videos, and insert this segment somewhere. You need to make sure you comment on that video. We are going to pick a random comment from one of said videos, and you will be the winner of this Scorpion statue. So if you're not a geek and you don't know who Sabertooth is, Sabertooth, as I said, is a main X-Men villain. X-Men is arguably one of Marvel's most popular teams. They've made movies and TV shows and obviously comics. Sabertooth usually sides with the bad guys. He usually sides with Magneto and the Brotherhood of Mutants, but specifically he wants to side against Wolverine, who is arguably one of the most famous X-Men out there. And in some variations, Sabertooth and Wolverine may or may not be related. But what we're going to do is we're going to dive into a detailed review of this particular Victor Creed statue. And I got to tell you guys, I ordered him on a whim, and I wasn't really looking forward to him, but I'm going to let out a spoiler. I was mistaken. So let's start with the concept of this piece, and I really like what they did here, even though it won't fit my collection very well. So let's talk about that. It looks like what they've done at the base is a Danger Room base, and I can't recall if XM Studios has done this with other pieces. Sideshow has, and that's why I think it's very smart. This will pair really well with a lot of Sideshow pieces. And just a quick update, Danger Room is a room in the X-Men mansion where they train and they use holographic simulations that are real. And this is even more apparent by the X he's stepping on. And then as you move up, he is in his classic Sabertooth costume, the brown and yellow. It's kind of a giant onesie except for men who are real badasses. And he is in a very dynamic pose. It's so dynamic, as you saw on the turntable, one of his feet aren't even on the base. And as you move up, he's showing his muscles. He's very fierce, so he's attacking somebody or someone. So it's kind of unclear, did he break into the Danger Room and he's fighting the X-Men? You certainly could display him like that. Is he training with the X-Men? Did he turn over a new leaf? Or maybe he's temporarily teamed up with the X-Men to fight Sentinels or something like that. And as you get towards the top, you see his arms lunged out. You see his portrait very fierce. And he has 2 different portrait options. We're going to look at both during design. I think it captures Sabertooth really well. I've talked about this before. Almost all Sabertooth statues have an outdoor, snowy, wooded base. I like that they changed this up. I like that they showed the size of Sabertooth. He's a very big guy, and I think they accomplished that here. Look how dynamic that is. That's very smart. I love the concept of this. I think it's different. I think it works well with displays, and it shows the badassery of Sabertooth. I think the concept's a 5 out of 5 on this piece. I am really liking it a lot more than I thought I would.
Hey, that's what she said.
And that's going to be the common theme today in the review, including design. So design is very simplistic. Now, before we do the unboxing and review, let me open up some of the goodies that are in the box. So you have the new nameplate that they keep doing with all the pieces. So if you want to display this next to it, it's this kind of a certificate of authenticity. This says limited edition, so we don't know how many they made unless we look at the base of the statue. I really wish they would put the edition size on these, not write limited edition, because I don't remember looking at it, so now I'm going to have to lift it up and look. Now the other thing XM Studios supplies is generally a little direction page and an art print. And traditionally the art print is the exact same pose of the character. Here, while it is, they've actually done a little bit of artistic interpretation on Sabertooth that I really like. And again, XM Studios, get rid of this. We don't want to resell it. We just want to display it, and we're not going to display it with that nasty thing on the bottom. And then you have directions and the layout. So now let's look at the unboxing and assembly. For once, it wasn't a giant box, which I am thankful for. Your standard XM lid that is impossible to get off. Your standard XM foam with the straps. XM really changes their packaging type. Then on the inside, you had all the pieces on one layer, as you can see right here. All right, so let's measure him to kind of get an idea. It's kind of difficult with his foot in the back to the front of his claw / paw, because he's kind of feline-like. It's about 19.5 inches. For exact dimensions, go to XM Studios website. It's 11.5 inches or so out to here, maybe a little bit more. And then the highest point is kind of that mane on his coat. A little over 20.25 inches. So let's see how he scales. Here's a picture of him right next to Sideshow's latest Wolverine premium format. If you want to see what he looks like in my collection, make sure to check out the Extreme channel, Instagram and Facebook. The link of those is in the description below. As you saw, very easy assembly. Let's talk about the portrait switch outs. So first, you have one with kind of what I call his mask on, or his helmet. And initially, I thought I wouldn't like this one at all, but I quite like it. It might actually even be my favorite. But here is the one with his hair flowing. And this one is pretty badass as well. I almost wish the complexion was a little darker, but we'll talk about that more in Paint and Sculpt. And no other switch outs, but really nothing else is needed. So let's talk about, will this lean? All of this is into one key and peg that goes into here. Over time, will it lean? Who's to say? However, I do know XM Studios is one of the most respectable licensed companies out there. If this started to lean in a year, I guarantee they would take care of collectors. They always have. So I'm not really worried about that, whether it leans or not. But I think they get a lot of props. Even though it's simplistic, there's a lot of cool stuff going on here with the design. So the design is also a 4 out of 5 on this piece. Really well done by XM Studios. XM Studios rarely misses with Paint and Sculpt, and this is no exception. So I'm going to show you some video to see how well they did, and I'm having trouble kind of finding some flaws other than the complexion, which we'll talk about when we look at both portraits. Now, one note, this is probably more about design, but I didn't notice till now. You cannot display this guy low. You're going to have to display him at least at eye level or above. Kind of a heads up on that. Now let's start with the portraits, and I want to show you the contrast difference between the two. So this is what I mean that the unmasked portrait is just too light. So the hair looks fantastic. Look at the detail in that sculpt, the different strands. It's very blondish, almost some white that's in there. And his skin, very pink, very white. I like how he's in berserk mode with the white eyes. He traditionally is. I like the red they put around his eyes. His lips a little bit too purple. I'm not a huge fan of the paint on this sculpt. It's just not my preference, although it's done really well. Look how clean it is around the mutton chops. So and then let's switch out the other portrait. So I think I like the sculpt of the portrait we just put down, but I like the paint on this one better. A lot of the same stuff going on with the hair. It's a little bit darker. His skin is definitely darker as well. Lips a little too purple. Tongue a little bit too pink. Very large tongue, but the sculpt is phenomenal. And look at the detail around his mask, and you'll see that on his suit. It looks like real leather texture, and I think they did a good job using the paint and the sculpt to emphasize that. And we'll start at the top here. So the mane of his coat is what I call this. This is probably the weakest part of the sculpt, and it's still not bad. It almost looks a little messy, and that might be paint. But what I don't like is where it meets the suit right here. It's a little sloppy right there. But that's really the only flaw in this statue that I can tell. So his anatomy is fantastic. You know, they always do the veins. You can still see the veins through the uniform, which doesn't make sense to me, but it still looks cool. The different shading where his muscle indentations are. And I like the smooth texture of the white. You see a few tiny of the yellow, but you see a few tiny folds and creases in the uniform. Again, the stitching on the leather looks fantastic. I think they just did a phenomenal job with the anatomy, the paint. Take a look at his claws. I love these claws. They don't really have a shine to them. That's really the bright lights I have. But good size to this guy. Look at that. His gloves look fantastic with the classic spike coming out of the back. Take a look at his boots really quick. Classic Sabertooth boots. It's rare you don't see Sabertooth without snow on the boots. Well, here is an example of that. A lot of the same with this uniform, but it's just done so well. Really impressed by that. The base too, I like how there's greens and coppers and silvers to really make you think this is a working, like I said, I assume the danger room. You have an X right there, an X on there. Whatever he's stepping off of. These saw blades would look really good with the Sideshow Rogue Premium format, which is actually why I pulled the trigger on this. And then here's the huge gun that he's disabled or destroyed. You have a few coils and wires coming out, a few different areas. Some huge slashes here where you assume it's from him, which is awesome because he has the 4 nails instead of Wolverine's 3. Some more damage. And I like the faded coloring they used on this. Some more torn up part of the machine. 4 claw marks here. The base is really compact, but it's awesome. More claw marks. Really impressed with this. Another knockout of the park for XM Studios. So starting with paint, they did a really nice job. It's so clean, really well done as I talked about. I wish this portrait would have had a little bit darker, whether it was in the hair or the face, but I think the paint is also a 4 out of 5. Now, a lot of people were comparing this to the other option, the Sideshow Premium Format Sabertooth that recently came out. So I think this is their 3rd one that they actually made. And, you know, I'm not a fan of that pose. It just looks awkward to me, and granted, I've never seen it in person. I like this pose much better. And I know that sculpt is probably phenomenal, but so is this. This is really well done. I think this is a 5 out of 5 sculpt. It is really impressive. Other than some of the issues going on up here, it's fantastic. Now we'll talk about value. So I had to find out the edition number, and I couldn't lift it up, so I got Mrs. X to do it. And the edition size, or how many they made, the ES is 399. Not 400, 399, which is fantastic. You look at all the other licensed Sabertooths, and they're in the thousands. So I love this made-to-order system. This is already a fantastic statue. So what was the price? The price was right around 1,000 to 1,200 Singapore dollars. So in US dollars, that's 760 to 850, give or take. Plus, you had to pay for shipping. Express shipping was like $350. Economy shipping, which takes 4 to 6 weeks, was $250. So you're about $1,000 to $1,200 all in for this, depending on how much you paid for retail, which is quite a bit more, almost twice as much as the Sideshow one. Is this twice as good as the Sideshow one? I've never seen that in person. I don't know if the paint and sculpt is twice as good. I like this concept more. I like the pose more. There's only 400 of these. Sorry, 399 of these. I think that's huge on value. I think it's a 4 out of 5 on the value. I think the value on this is really good. I think it's going to be a sought-after piece. That made-to-order system that XM Studios is doing is fantastic. Does this statue have the X factor? Is this the best licensed Sabertooth statue ever made? I'm going to go out on a whim and say yes, it is. So it does have the X factor. I give this an overall score, 5 out of 5. It's not a cumulative score, but this is pretty badass. I was fairly certain I was going to pack him back in the box and throw him on a for sale video that's coming on Black Friday for you guys. But I'm not going to. Definitely going to keep him. I'm going to do that extrumble where I may change my decision and get rid of him or the other one because I think I only need one Sabertooth. But more details to come in that. So thanks for tuning in and sharing this experience with me. I bet you could share a lot of other things. And do it by hitting that Mr. X logo and the bell notification. Check out some of these other XM Studios collectibles, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Take care.